How y'all doing tonight?
Pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm pretty good. All right. I'm going to be coming tonight from Judges, chapter 16. So I would like to start with a word of prayer. Lord God, I thank you for just everything that you have done, Lord God. And I just pray for this message that it reaches down deep in the soul like it did for me, Lord God. And I just pray that you have me to say everything you want me to say. And I just thank you for just how great, just how awesome you've been through each and every season of my life. And I thank you for it. And have me to sit down and you stand up in me. In Jesus' name I pray. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Pastor, for allowing me to have this opportunity. So tonight is about to get deep. This is a warning message. The title is Distracted While Burning. The subtitle would have to be, But I Didn't Even Feel the Flames. So first, y'all know how I do stuff usually. I take the message and then I dice it up. And so I'm going to define distraction. Distraction is the inability to concentrate because one's mind is preoccupied. And burning, the definition is on fire or very keenly felt, deeply felt. Everything you burn for may feel good at the moment, but what about tomorrow?
My Lord.
See, like, for example, like you can be burning with passion or burning with desire or burning with anger. You know what I mean? So there's this show on Netflix called Brainchild, and it's a science show, and Aiden loves it. And he was showing me this segment, and it was called the Water Challenge. And what the Water Challenge is you get a bucket of ice water, and you have the person to put their hand in it. Well, scientifically, it's proven that you're not going to last long, usually about 9 seconds, right? But then the challenge is if you place your hand in the water and you smile or yell, you'll last 2 times longer. And so most of you may say, well, why is that? And I said the reason is because you distracted your brain to focus on something else. But notice the distraction didn't stop the burning. But you stayed in the water longer because you didn't realize you were burning. See, distractions come in various forms. You know, some of them come in forms of bays. Some of them come in forms of social media, lust, porn, friends, the act of church. See, some people use church as a distraction from what's really going on in their life. Children, sports, sorry fellas, hobbies, jobs, money. A lot of people are blinded by money. And most importantly, our past. That can cause some distractions, right? So when you are distracted, you are vulnerable. See, when I think of a distraction like these, I think of idolatry. Idolatry is an extreme admiration, a love or a reverence for something or someone. Something else is filling the void of where God is supposed to be. So when starting this message, the story of Samson came to mind. Watching his falls reminds me how all of us can be distracted. And in that moment, it can take you on a ride you no longer want to be on. See, Samson's purpose was to use his strength that God gave him to relieve his people from Philistine rule. But see, in an earlier chapter, I'm going to go over 16, but in earlier chapters, in chapter 14, verse 4, we see that God permitted Samson, who was an Israelite, to marry a Philistine woman to provide a confrontation, because his whole thing was to take out the Philistines, right? So in chapter 13, verse 5, it said that his hair, that God told him that the mom and the dad, that his hair was going to house a strength.
My Lord.
So I'm going to be going from Judges 16, 4 through 31, and just kind of teaching tonight. All right, so Judges 16 and verse 4. Sometime later, he fell in love with a woman named Delilah, who lived in the Sorek Valley. I said fell in love. How many of y'all done fell in love? See, that means that a bond is formed. And a lot of you may not know this. I didn't either. Delilah means faithless one. So y'all know she about to be some trouble, right? But you know what? The hardest ones to say no to are the ones that you say I love you to. Okay, I told you I was gonna get deep. All right, so 5. Okay, so 4. Delilah, who lived in Sorek. 5. The Philistine leaders went to her and said, "Persuade him to tell you where his great strength comes from, so we can overpower him, tie him up, and make him helpless. Each of us will then give you 1,100 pieces of silver." Now, when I read that, I was like, dang, they gave her more than they gave Judas for Jesus. Like, dang. But, dang. But I said, your worth is nothing to Satan. Whoever he can use, he will.
My Lord.
So down to 6 and 7. Verse 6, it says, so Delilah said to Samson, "Please tell me, where does your great strength come from? How could someone tie you up and make you helpless?" 7, Samson told her, "If they tie me up with 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried, I will become weak and be like any other man." And I said, when you are distracted, you will entertain some foolishness, right? And we can kind of like wonder, well, why is this woman trying to like tie me up and stuff? But you know what you know to be fishy in your right mind, when you're distracted, it doesn't. You don't really think about it. And see, when you're burning, you'll think it's cute. See, we're not gonna pretend like we ain't never entertained some stuff, right? That we know.
Right.
Come, okay. I'm just making sure. Okay, so 8 and 9. The Philistine leaders brought her 7 fresh bowstrings that had not been dried, and she tied him up with them. Verse 9. While the men in ambush were waiting in her room, she called out to him, "Samson, the Philistines are here." But he snapped the bowstrings as a strand of yarn snaps when it touches fire. The secret of his strength remained unknown. So I said, Samson continues to entertain. See, at this point, he's playing with fire. Anybody else in here ever played with fire? I'm sure you got some burn marks, right? But you know what? I sense a little bit of arrogance on his part. And because a lot of times people will think, well, I won't ever get caught up. That won't ever be me. That would never happen to me. I know how to diffuse this situation on my own. See, and I say that's one of the biggest mistakes that Christians make, is thinking that you can overcome sin on your own. Because if it was that easy, why would we need? Okay. All right. So verses 10 and 11, it says, Then Delilah said to Samson, "You have mocked me and told me lies. Won't you please tell me how you can be tied up?" He told her, "If they tie me up with new ropes that have never been used, I will become weak and be like any other man." And I said, Delilah is exactly how the devil comes with distraction. So far, she's shown Samson exactly who she is, and she continues to come again with the same plot. But I said, the devil doesn't need new tricks. He'll just continue to use the same ones until you break. So then 12 and 13. Delilah took new ropes and tied him up with them and shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are here." But while the men in ambush were waiting in her room, he snapped the ropes off his arms like thread. Same thing. So going to 14 and 15. She fastened the braids, 13. Then Delilah said to Samson, "You have mocked me. all along and told me lies. Tell me how you can be tied up. He told her, if you weave the 7 braids on my head into fabric on a loom. So she fastened the braids with a pin and called him, Samson, the Philistines are here. He awoke from his sleep and pulled out the pin with the loom and the web. I said, notice that she uses the word love. See, usually distractions are manipulative.
My Lord.
Remember, they come to suck up what God has given you.
Jesus.
And when I was writing this message, it was like a young girl. Like, I don't know if she's a teenager or she like a young woman. But you're going to hear these words from a dude. And I'm going to tell you, don't get caught up. Because that's a big, oh my gosh. Like, it's, oh my God. Don't get caught up. Because he's going to tell you that he loves you. You're going to give him the goodies. And you're going to be looking crazy.
My Lord.
So, 16 and 17. So because she nagged him day after day and pleaded with him until she wore him out. 17, he told her the whole truth and said to her, my hair has never been cut because I am a Nazarite to God from birth. If I am shaved, my strength will leave me and I will become weak and be like any other man. Don't talk too much.
Thank you. My Lord.
Bingo. We find Samson has a breaking point. Don't y'all know interrogation works? That's how the devil interrogates you. Interrogation works, y'all. Y'all seen the first 48. Them people always break, right? So, 18. It says, when Delilah realized that he had told her the whole truth, she sent this message to the Philistine leaders. Come one more time, for he has told me the whole truth. The Philistine leaders came to her and brought the silver with them. I said, and this shows you exactly, once the devil has you where he wants you and you alone, he can have a field day. 19. Then she let him fall asleep on her lap and called a man to shave off the 7 braids on his head. In this way, she made him helpless, and his strength left him. See, while you asleep, that's when you're the most susceptible. On a spiritual sense, you got to have your eyes wide open, or at least one, but not both. So 20. She cried. Then she cried, Samson, the Philistines are here. When he awoke from his sleep, he said, I will escape as I did before and shake myself free. But he did not know that the Lord had left him. Notice he said, shake myself free. Remember I was talking about how sometimes people can kind of feel like, oh, I got this. Oh, I'm good. Like, how many people feel like because they have a gift that they can just do whatever they want to do and then, whatever. Because I got this gift because God gave me this gift and, I'm good. Big mistake. Because once you tell God that you don't need him,
My Lord.
what did he do? He left him. I love you, but I'm going to have to leave you. Because if I leave you, then you going to know it's not all you, bro.
Yes, Lord.
So, this is the time where he realizes that he's not powerful on his own. And the Lord, when I said the Lord left him, that was the connection to him. And when he got his hair cut, and when he found himself in that situation with Delilah, his connection was cut. And due to his disobedience, his lust, he lost it. He lost it. He lost his covering. So you will find yourself in a prison that you can't break free from because, see, in verse 21 it says, the Philistines seized him and gouged his eyes out. They brought him down to Gaza and bound him with bronze shackles, and he was forced to grind grain in the prison. So he went from being used by God to now his eyes being gouged out, all because of a situation with a woman that he ain't had no business with. At any point he could have left, but he chose not to.
My Lord. Jesus.
It only take a second.
Jesus.
Okay, I'm going to read 22 through 26. But his hair began to grow back, and after it had been shaved, now the Philistine leaders gathered together to offer a great sacrifice to their god Dagon. They rejoiced and said, "Our God has handed over our enemy Samson to us." When the people saw him, they praised their God and said, "Our God has handed over to us our enemy who destroyed our land and who multiplied our dead." 25, when they were in good spirits, they said, "Bring Samson here to entertain us." So they brought Samson from prison, and he entertained them, and they had him to stand between the pillars. Verse 26, Samson said to the young man who was leading him, of course, because he don't have no eyes, by the land, "Lead me where I can feel the pillars supporting the temple, so I can lean against them." So y'all see, they done made a mockery of this man. But see, when you get caught up, it make a mockery of you. It makes a mockery of you. And so 27, the temple was full of men and women. All the leaders of the Philistines were there. And about 3,000 men and women were on the roof watching Samson entertain them. He called out to the Lord, "Lord, God, please remember me. Strengthen me, God, just once more. With one act of vengeance, let me pay back the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Samson took hold of the 2 middle pillars supporting the temple and leaned against them, one on his right hand and the other on his left. 30, Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines." He pushed with all his might, and the temple fell on the leaders and all the people in it, and those he killed in his death were more than those he killed in his life. Samson had one job. Like, one job. And so, it says, some distractions you can't recover from.
My Lord.
They'll cost you your life.
My Lord.
And I'm not only talking about your physical life, I'm talking about your emotional life, your spiritual life. Shoot, you may not die, but you may get PTSD. You may get AIDS. You may get a broken heart. See, giving you shackles you were never supposed to wear. See, God still came to Samson's rescue, but he had to suffer the consequences. The plan still went forth. It just wasn't the original plan. You don't want that to be you. I don't want that to be me. I'm just going to speak for myself. This is why it's important to ask God about every decision that you make. See, keep in mind, distractions are not always bad, but it's how you balance them and keep them in check and don't put them above God. So I'm going to give y'all some encouragement before I go. I'm going to have 6 verses. I'm going to read real quick. The first one is Proverbs 4:25 and 27. It said, "Let your eyes look forward, fix your gaze straight ahead. Carefully consider the path for your feet and allow your ways will be established. Don't turn to the right or the left, and keep your feet away from evil." The next one will be Jonah 2:8. "Those who cherish worthless idols abandon their faithful love." 1 Corinthians 10:13. It says, "No temptation has come upon you except what is common to humanity. But God is faithful. He will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with the temptation, he will always provide you a way out so that you may be able to bear it." See, Samson, he didn't leave. He thought he could deal with what was going on his own. And then Colossians Colossians 3 and 5. It says, therefore, put to death what belongs to your earthly nature, sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed, which is idolatry. And the last one is 1 Peter 5 and 8. Be sober-minded, be alert. Your adversary, the devil, is prowling around like a roaring lion, looking for anyone he can devour. So in conclusion, being distracted will eventually lead to burning if you don't allow God to identify it. Allow God to be your focus so you don't have to look at the damage that can be caused by your disobedience. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.